How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Now that the Lakers have officially traded for Russell Westbrook, they have a lot of work to do to fill out the rest of their team. They now only have 4 players under guarantee contracts and will have a lot of moves to make going into free agency. So in today's video, we'll be going over a version of what I believe would be an ideal way to fill out the rest of their team following the big trade. And before we do that, like always, we need to briefly go over what they have to work with financially and what their biggest needs are. Beginning with their financial situation, they only have veteran minimum contracts and the mid-level exception to work with going into free agency. Their mid-level will be worth either $9.5 million if they stay under the luxury tax apron, or will be worth $5.9 million if they go over it, which is probably more likely to happen. And knowing that information, they'll need to carefully select who they add to their team with the limited money they have available to them. And what I believe they need to target most is number 1, to add more reliable 3-point shooting. I think that is a no-brainer now that they traded away 2 of their better 3-point shooters with Kyle Kuzma and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Number 2, I believe they need to add a player who can create plays off the bench. And number 3, add 1 reliable rim protector who can fit well on the court with Anthony Davis. But with all of that being said, let's move on to filling out the team. And the first move that I believe they need to make in order for their offense to work better on the court together is by moving Anthony Davis to the 5. I truly believe that AD moving to the 5 would make a bigger difference than almost anyone they will sign in free agency. Because with Westbrook now on their team, who is a poor 3-point shooter, and with LeBron nor Anthony Davis being terrific 3-point shooters either, they cannot afford to continue playing AD at the 4 with a traditional big at the 5. With Westbrook now in their lineup, they will need to surround him with 3-point shooting and players who move well without the ball. And in my opinion, the first move that needs to happen in order for that to work is with Anthony Davis being moved to the 5 nearly full time. There are very few traditional big men left in the NBA that like to play physical down low, so moving him to the 5 should not be a big issue, and moving him there will allow them to add another guard or forward to their lineup to help space the floor and add more off-ball movement. Which leads into who they should add to their team in free agency with the mid-level exception. Obviously, that player needs to be a good 3-point shooter, but they also need this player to be a good wing defender as well, because while they desperately need 3-point shooting, we also need to remember that they traded away 2 of their better wing defenders in Kyle Kuzma and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope as well. There are a few different quote-unquote 3-and-D players that I would not mind to see them go after here, but if we are prioritizing 3-point shooting a little bit more than defending, one player they should probably be targeting with their $5.9 million taxpayer mid-level exception is Otto Porter Jr. Out of all of the affordable 3-and-D free agents available, as in those that could be had for around $5 million per year, Otto Porter may be the best 3-point shooter among them. While he is probably not a better defender than other 3-and-D options out there like PJ Tucker or Nick Batum, he is a more reliable 3-point shooter and also is more likely to be attainable for that amount, because while 3-and-D players like PJ Tucker, Nick Batum, and Reggie Bullock for example will all be free agents, they are all very likely going to be returning to their prior team, and all of them may very well be getting paid more than the Lakers could offer them anyways. However, that is probably not the case for Otto Porter. He ended last year playing for a rebuilding Orlando Magic team that has no plans to offer him a new contract, and he is not likely to be offered a lot of money by another team either. And the reason for that is because he now needs to prove himself in the NBA once again. He has been absolutely plagued by injuries for the past 2.5 years now, which has left him to be somewhat of a forgotten player in the NBA. And while we cannot deny that it would be taking a risk by adding him, it would probably be a risk they would be willing to make. The Lakers have already shown that they are unafraid to gamble by trading for Westbrook, and Otto Porter is not nearly as big of a gamble compared to that. If he can stay healthy, his combination of reliable 3-point shooting, above average defense, and versatility on both ends of the court will be a huge addition to their team. And while I do believe that they should offer Otto Porter the mid-level exception, they may not have to offer him the entire thing. If you did not know, you can actually divide the amount of the mid-level exception between multiple players if you want to, and I believe they should consider doing that given how many spots on their team that they need to fill. What I would like to see them do here is offer Otto Porter around $3.9 million of the total $5.9 million that the mid-level is worth, and then offer the remaining $2 million to Furkan Korkmaz. In my opinion, this would be an underrated move for them to make that would actually make a lot of sense, because while a veteran minimum contract is worth around $2.3 million to a player that has been in the league for 10 years or more, Furkan Korkmaz is not a veteran player, and a minimum contract to him would be worth under $2 million. So if the Lakers would offer him around $2 million with part of the mid-level exception, that may be enough to add him to their team. And with Philadelphia being unsure on their plans with their roster moving forward, that may leave Furkan Korkmaz without a secure place on their team. That may cause him to look at signing with other teams in free agency, and if the Lakers would offer him a starting role with a pay increase what he made last year, that may be enough to add him to their team, and he would be an incredible addition to their lineup. Like Otto Porter, Furkan is a very good three-point shooter who can also defend wing players. He has great height, length, and mobility, which allows him to match up with both smaller and bigger players on the perimeter. He is an improving defender and has gotten better on that end of the court every year that he has been in the league. I believe it is only a matter of time before he truly has a breakout year, and he would be in a great position to do that on this Laker team. And theoretically, he could possibly be had with only a minimum level contract, so dividing the mid-level between him and Otto Porter might not even be needed. I basically just wanted to point out that they have the ability to do that, and I do think it would be a good idea if they try to steal away a younger player like Korkmaz, who would not be able to make more on a minimum level contract elsewhere. But with that, we now officially have a starting lineup, and one that would actually fit well around LeBron, AD, and Westbrook. Both Otto Porter and Furkan Korkmaz are able to provide not only reliable three-point shooting, but both are also capable wing defenders and can provide around 10 points per game each. Adding them would also add more youth to their otherwise older team, with both Furkan and Otto Porter being 28 years old or younger. But now moving on to adding a few players with veteran minimum contracts, with the first one being Carmelo Anthony. Melo seems to be a player that they will be adding to their team according to rumors, and I have no problems with that at all. He is a bit of an older player now, but he would address their need for more reliable scoring off the bench and one that can provide even more three-point shooting. Melo is still more than capable of averaging more than 12 points per game off the bench, and his ability to create his own shot would really add a lot of value to their bench unit. It is not easy to find a high-level shot creator like Melo who will be willing to take a veteran minimum contract. While he is not a great defender, you cannot ask for everything here. He would be a great addition as one of their veteran minimum players in my opinion. Next, we are going to bring back Dwight Howard on a veteran minimum contract, because although Anthony Davis will be moving to the 5 on our team, we still need to add another rim protector, and I'm sure there still will be times when AD plays at the 4, and one guy we already know who can fit well with both him and LeBron on the court is Dwight Howard. His defensive mentality, great rebounding ability, and leadership will be a no-brainer to add for a veteran minimum. Following the addition of Dwight Howard, another good veteran to add to their team with a minimum contract to add depth to the wing would be James Ennis III. I would be more than happy with any of Tony Snell, Trevor Ariza, or Ennis here, but I think Ennis would be more likely to take a minimum contract over Tony Snell, and I think he fits a bit better than Ariza would, given that Ariza plays a lot of power forward nowadays, and we already have Carmelo Anthony as our backup power forward. Adding Ennis would provide them with a quality 3-and-D player to help fill out their depth on the wing. He is a good three-point shooter and can defend both smaller and bigger players out on the perimeter. He can create his own shot on offense if needed, and he runs the floor quite well, which would make him a good fit in a lineup with LeBron and Westbrook. He would be a great overall addition to their team. Moving on though, we will now fill out the rest of our team with our own free agents, and like usual, we will begin with bringing back Caruso and Talen Horton-Tucker. We are not hard capped here, so we do not have to worry about limiting what we offer them. I could see Caruso being given a 3-year contract worth around 20 to 25 million, and THT being given a 3 or 4-year contract worth around 9 million per year. Then, we will also bring back Markieff on a veteran minimum contract to add depth to our power forward and center position, and if needed, they could use the early bird rights that they have with this contract to give him a small pay increase, but either way, I think Markieff will be a great player to keep around. He can play at the 5 in a small ball lineup and adds more three-point shooting to their team. After that, we are going to bring back Mclemore on a veteran minimum contract. You can never have too many good three-point shooters on a team that includes LeBron and Westbrook, and Mclemore would be a logical player to bring back for cheap. He's a great three-point shooter, and with him already being comfortable on their team, it would make a lot of sense to bring him back. But we now need to decide on what to do with Dennis Schroeder. And with Westbrook now being a part of the team, it makes it even more likely than before that Schroeder will not be a part of the team moving forward. Hopefully that means they will be able to find a sign and trade partner for him, as opposed to losing him for completely nothing. And one team that has reportedly shown a lot of interest in adding him has been the Chicago Bulls. A sign and trade with them may look something like trading Schroeder and Alfonso McKinney for a combination of Thomas Satoransky and Al-Farouq Aminu or Thaddeus Young, but the Bulls could theoretically take on Schroeder's entire new contract here, so they would not have to match his contract in a trade, but I do think the primary player that the Lakers would want in return here would be Thomas Satoransky. Satoransky is a very versatile player and is capable of playing at point guard, shooting guard, and small forward. He will provide them with a playmaker off the bench who can also play off the ball if needed. He is a good three-point shooter and also an above-average defender too. I think he would be an underrated player to receive in a sign and trade for Dennis Schroeder and would help fill out their team very nicely. But with that will conclude what I believe to be an ideal scenario to fill out their roster following the trade for Russell Westbrook. We managed to add more reliable three-point shooting to put around LeBron, AD, and Westbrook, while at the same time not having to sacrifice defense. This would be a well-rounded team and very deep at every position, and one that I believe would be capable of competing for an NBA championship. But what do you guys think? Who do you think are the ideal players for the Lakers to add to their team in free agency following the trade for Westbrook? Do you like the additions of Otto Porter Jr. and Furkan Korkmaz, or would you target different players with the mid-level exception? Let me know what you think about the team that I built by commenting down below, and we can talk about it there. That will do it for this video though. Thank you to everyone who took the time to watch until the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please remember to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn notifications to get notified right away when I drop a new video. And if you want to stay up to date on all my immediate thoughts, moves on the NBA, be sure to follow me on Twitter too. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.